guys, welcome back to Bring Back the Girls. I'm so happy to have you guys back today for our next guest, Noelle Barretto. She's our first guest that's not from World Cup, and for those of you who don't know who she is the F5 girl. She won Worlds with F5 in 2016. Noelle and I have such a special relationship. We met when I was on Twinkles, and you'll hear how we met. It's very cute. Noelle and I talk about the legacy of F5, the relationship between Shooting Stars and F5 and Large All Girl in general, and our experiences within the division. Since it's NCAA weekend, we talked a little bit about NCAA. And then we also, of course, had to talk about the 2016 World's Day 2 debacle, and it was so interesting to hear her perspective. Yeah, this is a great episode. I decided to release this episode a little bit earlier than planned because of the events that happened at NCAA today. I'm sending so much love and all my thoughts and prayers to everyone in Dallas. It's heartbreaking to watch all those videos, see all these posts of athletes being separated from their friends and family. So I decided to post this early to just give you guys something to take your mind off that event. And I really hope you enjoy this episode. Noelle is the best. Yeah, love you lots. And we'll get right into the video. Welcome back, everyone. We have our next guest, Noelle Barretto. So we'll get right into our first question, which is, how did you grow up to be an F5 queen? That's what I'm gonna.
In 2008, I started cheerleading because my cousin cheered at my first gym. And I just always wanted to grow up and be like her. But my mom was very hesitant and was like, no, we're not doing it. Like, you're gonna quit. You're not gonna stay in it. And I was like, no, I really want to. I really want to. So it took some convincing, and she didn't let me start until I was 8 years old because she wanted to make sure it's what I really wanted to do. So I cheered at my small gym from when I was 8 until I was 13. And my cousin cheered there, and then she eventually left and went to Twisters. So I was there with her maybe for 2 years, and then she left and was on Supercells and Rain and then F5. So then I went to Twisters in 2014, and I was on Rain first, and my cousin took a gap year that year, and then in 2015, my first year on F5, my cousin was also on F5 with me, which was kind of like a full circle moment. And then I was on the team for 5 more years. I did do a super senior year. But yeah, so that's kind of a brief synopsis of my story.
I met you at your smaller gym, actually.
Mhm.
Because when I was on Twinkles, I lost this bear called Heart Bear.
I remember this.
It was at UCA when I lost it, and it was, you know how all kids have an animal or a blanket that
Like your thing.
that they attach to. Heart Bear was my bear that I brought around everywhere. And
Mhm.
he was my little good luck charm at competitions, and I would kiss him, and if I didn't kiss Heart Bear, everything was going to fall in the routine.
It
Um,
was the end of the world.
I don't know what happened or how I lost him. I think I just might have left him in the bathroom. What was I posting about losing my bear?
I don't remember how it got back to us, but I remember someone, maybe, I don't even know if my mom had it, but somebody from us had it. And then it was just a big, and we kind of connected. And I think after that, did we go to a camp together, like a CXE camp in
Yes.
New Jersey, Pennsylvania-ish area? You and Julia, I
Yes.
think, were both there. Yeah, I don't know. It's just so crazy how our worlds kind of intertwined in that little stage of life, and then we competed against each other for years.
Yeah, your gym got me a whole bear and your whole team signed it for me.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so sweet what you guys did, reaching out to me in that way. And then yeah, we met up at that camp, and ever since we kind of in a way, even though we were on the same team, but grew up together um
Right.
throughout the years. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's a part of cheer that you don't really see a lot of behind the
Hmm.
scenes. I don't know, the community aspect. You guys,
Right.
a small gym just reaching out to a Twinkle who lost her bear is just so wholesome in a
Yeah.
way. And I greatly appreciated it as a 12-year-old. It was just the sweetest gesture. And I think I made a lot of connections, especially with you. I made a wonderful
Yeah.
connection and we stayed close ever since. Like I still follow you on Instagram and keep up with
Yeah.
everything you're doing. And when we were competing against each other, it was like nothing but love. I just loved seeing you like competing on F5 and just like thriving and doing incredible things. So
Thank you.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I think that's a fun, like how we met kind of
That
piece.
is really funny. And I didn't remember the story like verbatim, but I remember the bear. I remember you losing it. And then I don't remember what happened after that. But now that you say it, I do remember we all signed it and sent it to you. And that was just the wholesomeness of Unique All Stars.
Hinted on this already. But
Mhm.
you went from a smaller gym and then you went right to Twisters after. So what was that experience like? Was it easy because your smaller gym was like prepared you well, or did you find a lot of differences between going to a small and big gym?
Unique was like where I started, and obviously, and then like we all became family. So when I decided to make the move, it was just because like I wanted to go to Worlds, I wanted to be on a Worlds team. I had competed on at the time restricted five, which is now just regular level five. So when I competed on there for like 2 years, I was like, I'm ready for like more of a challenge. And that's when I decided to try out at Twisters. And like I started off with some clinics just to see. And I will say back then it was very intimidating. It was just a lot. It was very high strung, like,
Yeah.
and people were very competitive within the gym, I would say at the time. I think now we are way more like family oriented. And once you got in, you felt it. But I feel like it took me a while to feel it just coming from such a small place beforehand. I will say it was definitely a change. I feel like I learned a lot in just a very short period of time. Like I thought I was great at baskets, and then I got to Twisters and learned I was not that great at baskets. So like just like the level of competitiveness, I think in general was just it was way more competitive. There was 100 girls that could do what you could do. It was definitely interesting. Unique All Stars, I learned everything there, like from a cartwheel to a full. I learned everything from there. So like my tumbling never suffered. I just think a little bit more of like baskets and flying technical was just a little behind.
I had a very similar experience because I came from Hamilton Stars, and then same thing. I wanted to challenge myself, and I went to World Cup. Same thing. I went to like the clinics and like the tryouts. I was like, how am I going to like make it here? Like, because I was trying out for Twinkles, they're throwing doubles at like 9 years old. I'm like, how am I going to do this? When I was on Hamilton Stars, like I had those basic at World Cup, I was able to develop more. So.
Yeah. And I think too, for me, I don't know about if Hamilton Stars was just primarily cheer, but Unique was gymnastics and acro based.
Wait,
So
I did not know.
yeah, we weren't like acro was it all started from acro and then you like the cheerleading aspect came a little bit later. So it was definitely like I think there were some things that were missing, but also some things that we had from the acro aspect of it that was just different than main just primarily cheerleading gyms. I don't know. It was very different. Like I think our tumbling and everything was more technically sound, like I said, than the stunting because we didn't I mean, before they started the cheerleading gym, they didn't stunt.
Yeah.
They just did acro things. I don't know, the baskets, like all that. But so it was very interesting to see the difference of like what we focus on at Twisters versus what we focus on at Unique. I did love it there. We actually might have been 2 summers ago, 3 summers ago, we did a reunion of the closing of Unique, like a 10-year reunion. And so like all of Yuri's kids, which now the gym is thriving. It's not Unique, it's EAGC.
Okay.
And they are like the tumbling acro gymnastics gym. So we all surprised Yuri and did a reunion and it was super sweet. He cried. It was, yeah. So,
Oh,
I mean, and that's still my favorite. Like, I talk to some of those people all the time. We like try to reunite as much as possible. So,
no, I love that. That is so sweet. That's the one great thing about cheerleading is how you just keep these friendships. Even if it's not like you're always talking, it's like you always know you have
right.
people in your corner, which is great. So on this podcast, I always talk about shooting star traditions that Shooting Stars is
Mhm.
built on past traditions that are constantly passed down. We have like the wave, we have the bows, big sisters, we have a bunch of different things. And honestly, it sometimes gets lost because of how many there are sometimes.
Right.
So I was just wondering, does F5 have any traditions that you guys have at competitions, or do you pass down anything?
I don't know if you would consider it a tradition. I think back in the day, they might have had more concrete ones, but I mean, the zebra is like F5's thing. So, like last year on the bow, was it last year? Yeah, I think it was last year or the year before. Their bow, there was zebra. Like they did a zebra print type of bow, but just with stone. The zebra's always been F5's thing. And then, like, there's certain things that I did when I was a captain, which at this point was 6 years ago, 6 to 8 years ago. So like when we would get ready to go full out and like do our break, I used to say it loud and proud and with so much love in your heart because we are F5. I would say because we are, and then everyone would say F5. And the kids still do it now. Granted, they don't know where it came from, so maybe they think it's like a longevity
Now
tradition.
you
I
know.
do know.
Don't know now.
Yeah, you're right. I did start it when I became captain in 2017, but I love that they still do it. And I think every year, I think when the captains come in, they just kind of bring a different element into the tradition. So like now I think the girls like take a deep breath in, take it out, like, and they do the F5. F5 or die is the big like slogan or motto, I would say. And for me, I truly think what it means to be F5 or die is like you go hard for F, like I don't know, it's just like a sisterhood. And I think that's really what the legacy and the sisterhood of F5 just embodies being F5 or die.
I believe it was F5 2010 where they came in limos with their like zebra and their glasses. I remember photos of them like so iconic. I remember that zebra print like even to this
Yeah.
day. But those circle chants, I love doing. Like they always hype me up. So the fact that you have that little tradition that you kind of pass down to the team is just so special in my mind. So
When I hear them say it to them, like, oh, that's you. Where'd you get it from?
it's so interesting hearing other. I'm so glad we're doing this because this sounds terrible, but I always hear the same things that stars are doing. So it's just interesting to hear your perspective in a different team and their sisterhood and stuff.
I love all the stars traditions too. I think it's so cute. Like the wave, like I just live for it. But
It's the thing to do. So NCA is coming up this weekend. Hopefully, I have the video before NCA. I heard that the competition is moving at some point to a different arena. So your thoughts on that?
they are remodeling the convention center. So for the next, I think 4 years, NCA is moving to Houston because we can't be in the convention center. So it's kind of like this is like the last arena as how we know it, which is really crazy to think about. My junior six is competing in it, and they moved juniors back to the arena for this year because it was going to be the last one in 4 years. I don't really know how to feel about it because it is, and I say this all the time, that's my favorite stage to ever have competed on. Like nothing compares. I love Worlds, don't get me wrong, but that arena is just a different beast and animal, and like there's nothing like it. But yeah, so the whole competition is moving to Houston.
Love that they're moving the junior teams back into the arena. I don't know if NCA was my favorite personally, but something about like getting on that mat is just you can't see anything. People are cheering. The best, you know what the best time to compete at NCA is like day two right before awards because like people line the sides before.
Everybody's around you.
Yes. And I
Right.
actually
But they
really,
don't even do that anymore. No, they don't do that.
that was so fun.
Yeah, so they like stay in the back and wait for awards, which is crazy. But
Lame.
it's not the same. It's girl, it's not the same.
It's been so long. I'm like, whenever I talk about things, I probably sound like an old lady.
Listen, this is how we grew up. I understand. It's hard. The switch is hard.
No, but the arena will always like be a special place. Hopefully it doesn't change too much when you come back. I can't imagine it changing that much, you
It's
know?
just so weird to like think about like, and even NCA being in Houston, like I'm just like, what is gonna happen? Like, what are we doing? I've never even been to Houston, so I'm like, what? This is not like foreign. This is all foreign to me.
Right, you can't take the classic bull pictures like with the stage.
Oh,
They'll be back in the arena as soon as you know it. This has been broken, the large all girl, and it was who was it?
Panthers.
Panthers broke it.
2018, you go
2018.
Panthers.
I remember being on Stars, and I talked to Kira a little bit about this too. I was like, I didn't really believe in the curse when I was on on Stars, but it was always just like, do we do we really want to win NCAA? Like,
Right. Like it was so weird to be like, or like I think we all gave it our all at NCAA, but like when we lost, we were like, well, at least I have a chance to win worlds. Like that is just crazy.
that is so true. It was like, well,
Okay. Like it was like the double-edged sword, like, sure, whatever. The curse, I mean, it was real for a long time.
yeah,
Like it really was. So when it finally did get broken, which kudos to Panthers for doing it because we all thought it was impossible for a while.
yeah,
But I will say it's definitely like when we lost NCAA, we were like, well, we have a chance at Worlds. Here we
yeah,
go.
exactly.
The younger generation probably thinks it's so crazy. Like I'm sure some of my kids have never even heard about the curse, but yeah, that was a real thing.
Well, they don't have to worry about it now, so.
It's been broken multiple times now, I think. Senior Elite, I think, broke it, and I think Orange might have too. I don't know for sure, but for sure Panthers and seniors have. I think Orange might have the year before seniors, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
And then I guess we can talk about, I don't know how many people, probably not a lot of people saw this. I didn't even see this TV show. I don't know about you, but they covered stars in F5 at NCA.
I remember parts of it, and I remember we had to take a picture next to each other in the middle of like this. We were all like this, and it was like a V, and it was like F5 and stars. And we were like this, and we were standing there, and then the camera was zooming, and I think they were in warm-ups with us. And
Yeah.
I really don't know the purpose of it. Like, what year was it? 2017?
It's 20, did either of us win NCA that
No,
year?
I've never won NCAA, so I
No.
know I did.
We won in 2016. That was the only time I won NCA on stars. It was 2016.
Oh, well, maybe that's what it was because if that's the case, then 2016 you won NCAA and then we won Worlds. Maybe.
Oh,
And if it was 2017 year, maybe that's why they did it.
I
I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
We didn't even interact though. Like F5 and Star, we never talked to each other.
No, not at that time, no. Just makes it very strange. I'm gonna go watch it, try to see if I can watch it or like see, because it might be part of my varsity TV subscription, so I'm gonna look.
I just thought we could share some personal experiences that you might have had with World Cup and that I've had with F5, and we can just go into that.
I personally, and I was talking to my cousin about coming on here, and she was like, "We love the Shooting Stars," and I was like, "We sure did." Like I remember being friends with like Aliana and Lyric and you and Kira and Julia and like Cassidy Osher was my girl. I just saw her at Cheer Sport. It's her coaching again, and I was like, "Oh my so I don't know. I just maybe it was like a Northeast type of thing, but I think we just got along the best. I will be honest. I don't think we all got along as a division.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just what it is. But I do think that's part of being a competitor. I don't know. I felt like for us, it was just very genuine. Like I still follow everybody on everything, like Snapchat, Instagram, everything. Stars and F5 had like a different bond, I will say, than the rest of our dog girl.
I 100% agree with that. I remember at Hot Shots, and we said that we would see whenever we saw each other,
Mhm.
we would sing "Party in the USA." I don't remember if I don't know if you remember that, but I do because I was like, ah, we have a cute
I
little dance.
don't.
I remember it so vividly. I was like, this is a dance.
I-
I love that we didn't do it. We we did not sing "Party in the USA" when we saw you at every competition, but I was like, we had this great bond, F5 and us, and whenever we pass each other, it's "Party in the USA."
I will say this, and this is funny, and I don't know if you've ever heard these stories, but being on the coaching side of things, back in the day, like back in the day, like early 2000s, F5 and Star did not like each other.
Really? I did not know.
So,
Actually, I don't think I knew
mhm.
that. I only knew about Senior Elite and Stars, like was huge too with
Yeah, yeah. So like early 2000s, like it was, and there's like moms in the gym now who were on F5 who would talk about like they would like call like they would bang in the same hotels and like call each other's phones and like I'm gonna beat you tomorrow, like just like really petty,
Yeah.
like competitive nature, which is so funny because as time went on, we became the closest two teams. I remember there was specific times when I would be with like some of the stars girls at Worlds. And I think it was both 2016 and 2017. And like we were looking around at each other and we were like, if it's not me, I hope it's you.
Agree. It was all love. I remember when you guys won in 2016, like I was so excited for you guys. I was like, hell yeah, F5 is bringing it back. It's so nice to see you guys like take home that win. In general, the division is just competitive, and that's what makes Large All Girl like the best thing.
I try to explain it to my kids and I try to explain it to anyone talking about it. And like, you don't understand, like that is different. That is a different division. And I think really it's because this was like a million girls out on this floor doing all of the hardest stuff in the industry. And honestly, just the best of the best. Like now there's only five teams, I think, in the division. The large all girl, there's nothing like it. And even when like me now as the coach and a spectator, when I'm out, I just go watch the division. I'm like, there's still just nothing like it. Like nothing gets you more excited than to go watch large all. And competing in it is 10 times better too. Like its own version of cheerleading is over there. Like it should be large all girl always holds the crown for me.
I agree. And I always say it's anyone's game when it comes to worlds, in my opinion. I know throughout the year on Twitter, especially our years, like you would always see like, oh, it's an orange year and it's majors. And I'm like, we're not even halfway through the season. Like you don't know. You don't understand what other teams
Right.
pull out later on. Like I remember Joelle just saying like, you don't know what F5 is gonna pull out when they hit like Worlds Day 1.
It really was just like whoever. Like there was, I think that also makes it more special. There hasn't been a consistent, like, there's never been a consistent winner in the division. When I was on the team, I think you guys won 3 out of my 5 years. And somebody, I mean, I will say like 2016, well, we will obviously talk about it, but we had the worst year ever and then came in with World. So like,
You never know. So, any girls in Large All Girl who's listening, or any people who like feed into that stuff, it's like you don't know who it is until honestly day 2 and when everyone's
at
done.
World.
Yep. So,
Yep.
those are my thoughts. But
I agree.
F5 has a huge legacy to it. They're known as the queens and the divas of the division. So they were like a force within Large All Girl. And I don't know if it was recently, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they have switched to medium a couple of times, I believe. Do you ever think they will come back to Large All Girl to be the divas again within the division?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I could say I think like when we and Tara and True like we'll talk about like large old girl and they're like, oh, we're so happy we're not in it anymore. But I mean, I think if the opportunity presented itself, maybe I really could not tell you.
Yeah.
Like they went medium in 2014, which is my first year at the
I do
gym.
remember that, yes.
So they went medium 2014, and then we went right back to large in 2015. And then we were in the division until 2020, and then COVID happened, and then we went medium again. It was my idea. I was like, you should go senior open when senior open could be like, I think 14 to however old. They went senior open 2023 and that was our most recent world championship, which was so cool too. And I'm gonna just shout out my best friend really fast.
Course.
Paige, she was on F5 in 2015 or 2014 and 2015. And then ended up like out 2015. And then we won 2016. But because we went senior open in 2023, she was able to win her first world championship. So yeah, we went senior open and then we went back to medium. I would love to see the girls on large again. I don't know if it will ever happen. I think it's something that the girls would love to experience because it is so different. And medium is just so crazy. Like I watched the medium division now. I'm like, this is a lot. Like I don't know, there's so many teams. It's like, I mean, versus having to worry about four other teams, or not even worry, but compete against four other teams. Like there's like 11 of them. I'm like, I was not used to this as an F5 girl. Like it just wasn't. what we did. But
Didn't even think about that, like having to like keep an eye on 11 teams compared to the that's a whole different ball game. Do
yeah,
you like that as a coach more, or do you like a smaller division?
the smaller division is always like less scary, not scary, but like different. Like, I don't know. Like, it's different to always feel like, okay, I'm always going to make it to finals because there's only five of us versus I have to work to make it to finals. You know, they're just very different types of competing, I guess you could say.
We're gonna talk a little bit about the famous 2016 World. Arlo's ready to hear this question.
He wants to hear
Worlds 2016, that's the year of the wet mat and also the year
it.
that F5 reclaimed their throne. So I want to hear your side of this year because people have heard mine, but let's dive into 2016.
I kind of said this earlier, but we had a rough year that year. Like, we didn't hit on any events. We had a theme and then we ended up scratching it. We had a rock star theme that we started the year with. And then after NCA, when we did not do very well, I remember Tara pulling us aside and was like, if you want to be Beyonce, then you better be Beyonce. And we changed our routine. We competed it at UCA for the first time and did better. And then I think our next event against anyone was Worlds. But it was like a struggle kind of year overall and just different for different reasons. Even day one, I think like we had falls and whatever. And then we went outside on that wet mat and somehow, some way hit a routine. Now, the controversy of like, was it wet for them? Was it not? It was wet for us. Like, I remember jumping up and down and slipping. And then I went to my spot and I'll see if I can send you a clip. But I went to my spot and I think I started off the routine and I lift and I look and I'm like, the floor is wet. Be careful. Like, I was telling people, like, I remember telling them, like, the floor is wet. Like, it's slippery. We hit on the wet mat somehow. Um, and then because we were in fifth on day one, we watched everyone else go after us. Um, and I remember watching you guys, and you guys were great. I think it was like a minor mistake, but it
Yeah,
wasn't.
the pyramid, like it misflipped, like someone slipped through.
So then that was like one thing. And then, like I said, me and Cassidy were really close. So we were watching the rest of the division together. And I don't remember the order, but we were watching teams and I was like, oh, they're gonna hit. And then they didn't. And I was like, what is happening? And then I watched another team. I was like, they're gonna hit. Like, we were like, yeah, they're gonna hit. Then they didn't. And I was like, what is going on? And then I watched another team and I was like, they're gonna hit. Nope. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, there's just no way. Everyone went. And then, as we know, there was a big, long, maybe hour and a half pause before awards
Yeah.
because the gym owners were arguing about staying the next day and competing again. I'll say it like my gym owner says it. She's like, I was the littlest one in that circle telling everybody, well, if all girls going again, then co-ed's going again. And she said, I'm looking up all the gym owners. So she said, she was like, I mean, and I love it. Like, it's one of my favorite stories because she really did fight for us. The mat was wet for us. It might not have been as wet. I don't know, but I know the controversy was like for me in my head, I'm like, well, we could never hit. So if we could hit on a wet mat, then praise the Lord. Maybe that's all we needed. Like, we could have wet the floor at the gym or something. I don't know. But did it take away from the win? Not really, because at the end of the day, nobody could take that away from us. Now that I think about it, it was just like, wow, like people didn't think we deserved it. And even still, sometimes my kids are like, you only won because all the rest of the division fell. And I was like, well, so
I just talked to Andrea about this. I don't know, I'm yelling. I'm very passionate about this. But I hate when people say that. I'm like, well, repeat what you just said. No one hit in the division, but we hit. So
like that's
yeah, exactly. I don't understand that debate online sometimes where they say that.
to be a world champion, I feel like you have to hit. Like, that is like the end all be all. Like, you
Yeah.
have to hit. So yeah, I mean, did everyone in the division have a mistake led us that day? Yes. When I watched the routine now, I'm like, it wasn't the cleanest, prettiest routine, like to my coaching eye, but I mean, we were in the air and
Yeah.
I mean, best day of my life so far. So
It was crazy. For stars, I don't know if we deserved fourth out of all those routines. Like Gaga was not my favorite year, but I was like, I don't think it was fourth, but that's my only thing about 2016 when it came down. Okay, there might I do remember like stepping on that floor and being like, "Oh, okay, cool. So this is wet and I'm gonna have to do a two to double right now." Yeah.
that's crazy. And it was so like, which was so wild because I loved competing outside. Like I thought it was so cool. Now to think about it, that was not probably the smartest thing to do in Florida. Like obviously we learned that, but it was, I mean, and we prepared for it as much. Like we used to have mats outside of our gym, and Sarah like we put mats down, and then it was dead mat, like not spring, but we would practice outside, and all the coaches' cars in the back of the parking lot would be like flashing their lights on us, and like you can prepare for that only as much as you really can, but like you could never prepare for a slippery mat. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize how big of like the wet mat was at the time. Like I was like, "Ooh, I just hit a routine. I'm happy. Like I did my job." Like, but it was the whole night was just so surreal. And even like I think we were taking our pictures at 1 o'clock in the morning with our trophy
Yes.
and everything. It was so late. Like
Oh yeah, Worlds 2016 will go down in history. We discussed this off record, but you actually coach at Twisters. So what teams do you coach? And then what are some changes that you've seen throughout the years?
so I'm coaching the Maryland Twisters Hot Shots, which is our U3. I coach Supercells, which is our small junior co-ed six. And then I coach Rain, which is our extra small co-ed six worlds team, which I love all three of them, but coaching three teams is a lot sometimes. Supercells is like really special because this is the first time being back in the level six division, junior six division in a while. They were junior world champions at one point, like when juniors still could go to worlds. So it's just like a really special year for them. Lots of NCAA titles, all the things. Rain was my first team at Twister, so that kind of is like my heart. Like I love F5. I'm a F5 girl. Like everyone, I mean, even if I'm at competitions, like everyone's like, "Oh, you're on F5," but like Rain kind of paved my way to being on F5. So it was definitely like when I started coaching the team, and so now it's just like that's like my little heart. Like Rain is just my heart. My youth three hot shots. We brought the division back to the gym last year and changed the name, kind of revamped it, but those are like my babies. I think the biggest change within the industry and difference is just like what we do. Like they do some hard stuff, like the rewinds and the stunting, and like some of the things I'm like, I don't think I could do that. Like the stunting is 10 times harder, I feel like now. The routines, I think there's a lot more we have to do.
Yeah, one thing that I am mad about is jumps to back are gone. That is one thing that I am like, where are the jumps to back? Because that was like to get to a level six, you had to have jumps to back. And now that's not a thing anymore.
I might put it in my world's routine this year just to like maybe amp up the tumbling difficulty a little bit. But and my kids are like, "Why are we doing this?" I'm like, "Because we need to." Like, I don't know. But
Listen to the
yeah,
crowd, it will be fun. It was so
listen, we used to die doing them. Like, I don't know. Like jumps to back was just, and I remember I think I was still cheering when it stopped,
yeah, it was
which was
2019. That's what Kira was telling me. 2019.
19, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was still cheering and we still did it that year.
As you
So
should.
yeah, because I was like, this just doesn't feel right, just stopping. I don't even know. Like I'm trying to think of anything more specific.
Kira and I were talking about switch kicks are gone a little bit. They kind of disappeared. Is that true?
Yeah, they're not required either. So like a four element basket would just get you higher toss difficulty. Like your requirement is a three element basket. So a kick, spin, spin, which is a kick double, that's three elements. And how some people think of it, I mean, the switch kicks are hard. You don't have to beat a dead horse, just do the kick double, get the points to be done.
But the switch kicks are so pretty.
They are pretty. I guess there's like it's so weird. Like the stunt thing got harder, but then some of the tumbling kind of got like a little easier.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe that's because what we said, like you're not getting homegirl down the street that walks in with a full whip double anymore.
Like the routines are more uniformed in a way. I don't know. They just look so much cleaner than like past routines too.
Cheerleading, I will say now is heavily, not dependent, but heavily weighted in technique. Like the technical drives it all. Because at this point where the score sheet is, it's everyone's going to do the same thing difficulty wise, except the one area that I feel like you can't really gauge is pyramid. But for stunting, they tell you you have to do four leads with this many stunt groups to get the 4.5 and to get your degree of difficulty of point 0.8. And then same thing with tumbling, you have to do the max amount of athletes, which for like, I don't know, one of my teams, it's 12. So you have to do 12 passes, but they could be advanced or elite. And then you have to do 7 elite passes. Like, so they're kind of giving you a breakdown of what you have to do to get the difficulty. It's the technique that's really stamping it down for everyone.
Do you find it to be like, because I know back in the day there was a lot on the score sheet that was like questionable. And now do you think it's more like transparent and you're like, oh yeah, I see that we didn't hit that elite in that way? Or is there still some like
For the
this?
difficulty, I feel like for sure, like for me, I'm like, if I'm doing my job right as a coach, there's no way my difficulty is not going to get hit.
Okay.
The only way it wouldn't, and Worlds is different because the World score sheet's completely different than the varsity one or the open one that we're all competing on all year long. Difficulty, like as long as I'm doing my job, those scores should be right. The only one that's like iffy is pyramid because there's not really like a they don't give us that checklist like they do for stunting and for tumbling, but you get into a range. So if you're in the, I think it's 3, 5 to 4 range, then it is what it is. Like you just have to take what they give you. But what I will say is for technique, like there's sometimes where I'm like, I thought that looked great, but the judge didn't. Or sometimes I'm like, well, they were generous to you because your jumps did not look that good. Like I'm very just blunt honest. And I think that's where the subjectiveness of the sport goes is definitely the technique and then also like the bottom half with the routine creativity. The difficulty side, as long as I'm doing my job, that should be great. And the technique side, if my kids do their job to the best of their ability, that should also be great. But there's a lot of things we just can't control.
You're like the first person I've had on that really like broke down judging, so I really appreciate it. So this is good.
You're welcome. No, yeah, it's and then world is it's whole different. Like I remember looking at my first world score sheet as a coach. I'm like, what is this? Like the numbers were crazy, but that's all comparative. So they're just comparing you to what the team in front of you and after, or not really what the team in front of you does. I will say like standards of what they want at Worlds. Like last year, I will say like my team didn't do 1.5 ups or double ups because we just weren't great at them. But we were a co-ed team, and I think everyone else in our division did them. So it like our score lacked in that area. The world score sheet's a whole different conversation.
That's so fascinating that it's like that. Because you would think it would be one standard score sheet throughout the year, but on the biggest stage, they just change it up on you right then and there.
Yeah. And that's the beauty about getting invited to the majors, though, is because you get to be on the world sheet. That's the only place that they will put you on that sheet.
Wait, that's wonderful. They have that. Well,
So,
for teams that are invited, but
yes.
do you have any advice for younger athletes looking to make it on to F5 or any world's teams?
My biggest thing is to always be confident in yourself. I've seen a lot of girls in my gym that just like kind of lack that sometimes and just not believing that like you are that girl, you are the best. You can do anything you want. Like you can do anything you put your mind to as long as you work hard. So I would say like just always be confident in who you are. And if you want it, go get it.
That's great advice. Staying confident in yourself, even when you make your like dream team or that world's team. Like you're put on that team because those coaches believe in you and you should believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And another thing when you're on the team, like keep on building those skills. Just because you got there, like still level up each year or each day, honestly. Like go in and work hard.
Just keep pushing that envelope. And girl, you got it. If nobody believes in you, we do.
So, our last question is your favorite like all-star routine of all time, and then I have to ask your favorite shooting star routine of all time.
My favorite routine to ever that I've ever competed was our 2019 routine. And I don't know if it was because of like our bonds or what, but that was just like the most fun routine for me in year and it was the best. But So 2019 F5 was my personal favorite. One of my favorite teams to watch, and this is recent, is Revelation.
Mm.
I could be a little bit biased because I'm best friends with their coach, but I don't know. They just make you feel something different every time you watch them. And I'm like, you're making me believe in what you're trying to tell me. So I love Revelation. And then my favorite Stars theme, I think might be Dancing with the Stars.
I love that one
I
too.
loved it. It was so fun. Jersey Boys, what year was Jersey Boys?
That was
Or
2015.
like that one was great too. I feel like the themes when I competed against you guys were always so good. Dancing with the Stars was great.
It worked so well. I
It
remember when
really
they
did.
said it and I was like, why didn't we think of this like earlier?
And then like, themes are so different. Like I remember when we did our baseball theme and I at first was like, huh? Like I was so confused. How are we gonna do this? And mind you, the uniform, it was a full-on baseball uniform, but
It's so cute though. I
we didn't have choreo yet.
Mm.
So we were told that we were having a sports theme routine. So I thought we were playing basketball and football and
Oh,
baseball
I see.
and you know what? Somebody should steal this idea because it might be iconic. But I did not realize that it was strictly baseball. So when they showed us a uniform, I'm like, what is happening? But I think that was another iconic year. Everyone loves that routine. But the themes, it's just so crazy how like these coaches have this thing in their mind and then they let it go and it just becomes this huge thing. I'm doing a theme right now with my youth three that I love. We're doing Broadway. Um, so
Wait,
that's super fun.
wait, can you send me? I love Broadway. Could you send me the
Yes, I'll send you. Yes, I will send you. And they're so cute and little.
It's crazy. I asked Gianna how her mom comes up with themes.
Mhm.
And literally she asked her mom and she goes, I don't know. We just think of a theme and it just sounds good.
I mean, and you guys had a lot of like just different out of the box things, which honestly just makes the stars iconic because very like there's nobody can ever do Gaga again, or Dancing with the Stars. Like, you just can't.
Yeah, no, I don't know how they do it each year. I always am like, even as an alumni, I'm just like, what are they gonna do this year? Like 10 years out from now, I'm like, I want to know the theme.
How do you keep thinking of these different things? I just don't.
I don't know. I get that's the magic of stars, I guess. But I love the baseball theme and those outfits with the little skirt, the way that you would always do those boomerangs, and I was like, I love
Yeah.
they were so cute. This is so off topic, but I do have to just say F5 uniforms blows everyone's out of the water, in my opinion, with the sparkles. Do you remember those black ones from like 2011 with like those sparkles and they
The
were like,
velvet.
yes.
Fun fact, if anyone really cares about this, but I don't know if they do. I actually bought Kelsey Birch's velvet uniform when we had to wear it in 2015. So I have hers, but I bought it from her. So yeah, the velvet. The
Those,
velvet's iconic. It was very hot.
oh, I
Wearing the velvet in Florida does not sound like fun to me. Like even in just a regular warm up, I was dying. Like this is hot.
beauty's pain because those were so pretty on the mat and just
We'll remake it in 2019. Well, we did kind of. We did a remake of it.
yeah,
Um, with a five-piece uniform, and we had like the velvet shrug with
I
it.
remember that, yes.
It was this whole thing.
Yeah, you guys have the prettiest uniforms in my that might be controversial, but I do love all the gems that you do and like the blue and black always looks so good on the floor.
Thank you.
It's just so good. I wore blue in honor of F5 today.
And look, I'm wearing black and gold, so look at that.
Okay, it's like we planned it. No.
No, we didn't.
All right. Well, those are all the questions I have for you today. Thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to like talk with me and catch up. So,
Thank you for having me. This is so fun. I'm excited to like share our story.
all right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Noelle is the best. Um, I wish her all the best at NCA. I saw a post that they will be continuing the competition tomorrow, so I hope everyone stays safe. I am sending all my love and prayers over to the teams that are competing this weekend. Thank you again to Noelle for coming on. It was incredible to hear what it was like on F5, a different large all girl team. I think it'd be fun to have some other girls in large all girl to come on and talk about their experiences. Obviously, we're gonna have more stars coming on. I have people lined up, but this was just such a fun episode to film. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please follow Noelle on all of her social media platforms, which will be down below. And also, please like and subscribe to this channel. I love you lots. Kiss, kiss. And I'll see you next week.